Hey there, Sidekicks family. It's Manny Cabrera. I'm the chief instructor and founder of Sidekicks Family Martial Arts Centers. We're your personal development and martial arts experts with campuses in Wesley Chapel and in the Fishhawk area. So I'm really excited today because I am joined by a personal friend of mine. We went to high school together, and over the years, I've watched him to become just a really great powerhouse in the community he operates in. And be positivity in general on social media and stuff. And so I'm really excited for all of you guys to join me today for a special, what we're calling Expert Experience. And so today we're going to talk about e-learning classroom essentials, basically how to help your child navigate and thrive with their schooling at home. I mean, we know that just a couple of weeks ago, all of a sudden the coronavirus thing, kind of poured out all over into the world. And then all of a sudden we left for spring break. And then here in Hillsborough County, we're coming back. Instead of coming back to school, we're now doing this e-learning thing. So I'm privileged to have been able to ask my friend, Mr. Rennex Franklin, Broward Elementary School Counselor here in Tampa, and to have a conversation with us. So real quick, let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Franklin. The importance of education has served as the driving force for Rennex Franklin throughout his personal and professional life. As the son of an educator, Mr. Franklin encourages those he encounters to believe that the best way to affect change is through the acquisition of knowledge. He's a graduate of the prestigious International Baccalaureate program, which is where he and I actually met, and learning about philosophy, government, and how each of us are connected, as well as how we can help empower others through education. Mr. Franklin earned a Bachelor's of Science in Elementary Education from the University of South Florida. And while serving in the classroom here in Hillsborough County, in the Hillsborough County Public System, he actually earned his master's degree in guidance and counseling from Nova Southeastern University. And for the past 5 years, Mr. Franklin has served as the school counselor at Broward Elementary. So throughout his role as a school counselor, he has been privileged. He's had the privilege of working with committed and determined stakeholders that seek to make a positive contribution in the lives of students. And so for his 16 years of experience, it's provided him a renewed vision for what is possible for the next generation of learners as the student body becomes equipped with the necessary skills that will prepare each student for life, and through developing the competencies that are highlighted in a strong foundation designed and supported by social emotional learning. As he continues to learn and grow as a professional, Rennex hopes to continue to inspire, encourage, and motivate students to cultivate the unique pathway to success. Folks, we are really lucky to have Mr. Rennex Franklin joining us today to talk about how to help children thrive in the e-learning environment that all of us have been thrust into because we're all safer at home right now. So it's my privilege to welcome Mr. Rennex Franklin. Welcome to our Facebook Live.
Hey, Manny, how are you?
I'm really well. I got to tell you, we're actually not just live in one place. We're live on the Sidekicks Facebook page.
Okay.
We're live on the Sidekicks. We have a Facebook page specifically for our after school and summer camps.
Okay.
We're live on YouTube.
Wow.
And we're live in what's called the Bloomingdale Neighborhood Community Group, which is actually a group that actually has over 11,000 people in it. So welcome to the Facebook Live. I'm really thankful that you took the opportunity to speak with us. Any way I could leverage my personal relationships to help people, I'm all about it. But
no, thank you. I'm super excited. I'm really want to just be of service and to support students, families, parents as we look at this new kind of way of moving in the educational system. And just really thrilled to be here and do what I can to support anyone who's out there listening. So thank you so very much for having this opportunity.
Like I said, I appreciate it. So, first things first, let's start with you. How are you? How are you coping with all this safer at home stuff? You keeping up okay? I mean, are you adapting? I mean, are you making it work?
I am. I'm adapting and making it work. I think I look at that question in two different kind of arenas, looking at it personally and professionally. So personally, making sure that my family's good and that we're following the rules and the kind of information that we're getting in the news every day. We're socially distancing. I have a grandmother who's 95 and she's still in really good health. So we're making sure that we're not doing anything to jeopardize that. I have family members who we typically get together every week, but they have like compromised immune system. So we're doing a lot of FaceTime, a lot of things like that, just to make sure that we stay connected, but not jeopardize anybody's health. So, and personally, doing good on that front. Professionally, doing okay. As a school counselor, it is a shift. It is a little bit different because a lot of the work that I do is face-to-face with my students and my families. So making this transition to a virtual platform, I mean, it's been interesting, but I'm really excited about finding the way through. Being able to connect with platforms like Zoom or with some of our teleconferencing tools that we've been given access to is really interesting to me now, because I'm still able to connect and hear voice and may not see the individual, but still able to really reach out and be of service and support to my students and families.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I got to tell you, like, I read, like, you read on like the news and stuff about Hillsborough County. Hillsborough County is one of the largest employers in the country, like, because like it's the school district of a county that is larger than 10 other states.
Absolutely.
And just, I got it, like the feat from the outside, because I'm a parent of kids in the school system, but from the outside, even though like I'm hearing of ups and downs and challenges that people have, I think that just the fact that in 7 days, the entire model of how delivery and education was presented in not just Hillsborough County but around the United States and probably, I imagine, yes, in Canada and around the world too. Nothing short of amazing. I think I just, the pivot, I guess, is the big word, but like the pivot has just been like how everybody's really throwing in together. I think it's just been awesome.
I love the word. I love the word, the way in which we did have to pivot, because if I go back to the Friday before spring break, we had no idea that we'd be on an extended break after that week, now extended to having school closures till May 1st. That was not in our realm of thought at that time. But I don't speak for the district, but as a member of the employment, I am proud of how we did pivot. We took the week that we were on the extended break after spring break and really used that to coin the term set up to success. So a lot of the e-learning platforms were set up. A lot of the distribution for technology was established in that week. Something very important to me about the community coming together with meals for students, that was set up that week, where schools were opening and giving out breakfast and lunch. We were able to extend that this week. So a lot of that prep work really went into that week. A lot of the teachers coming in and really transitioning their model from the brick and mortar building into how can I take this same lesson and make it engage for my students on this virtual platform. It was really wonderful to see and almost kind of moving, because you think that, this is what teachers honestly we go to school for. Before I was a counselor, I was a teacher, and we jump in, we do what we can for our students to make sure that they feel safe and that they're ready and prepared to do the best that they can. So it's really wonderful to see that pivot during these last few weeks.
Cool. It's when everybody's on the same mission, because ultimately people have their differences. That's kind of part of it, but ultimately everyone is focused on like what is going to be the best thing so we can continue to deliver for children. I know that us at Sidekicks, we've also pivoted to to e-learning. We're teaching all of our martial arts classes over Zoom, just like many teachers at school are.
Yes.
And we've been blessed that so many of our parents have stuck with us. So we do still talk a lot to parents, and maybe they're not verbalizing it because of everything that's going on, but I am hearing from a lot of from parents that are kind of telling us that their kids are acting out a little bit more right now. They're crying more. They're feeling those big feelings. So as a school counselor, like what kind of advice can you maybe give them to help the children cope with maybe the increased pressure of having to, do e-learning at home? What kind of advice can we give parents that are, having to balance, like working from home, or even still as an essential worker working out of the home,
and
helping their kids succeed in school? Just kind of like manage with this sudden change that everybody had? Like, what advice, like, what kind of things would you tell moms and dads, to help them to succeed? And
the first thing.
Well, just before you start, people who are, if you're watching us, down in the comments section, just if you have any comments or anything, just type your comment and or your question, and if we have time, like, I would love to maybe even take some questions for you too, sir.
Is for more of a perspective. I think that when we look at this virtual learning platform, we tend to say some words and it kind of gets misconstrued. So the thing that we're saying from our district standpoint is it's not homeschooling. So that idea of having to create the curriculum, find the curriculum, and be the teacher is not the model. So if we can get our perspective to think of it's more of an e-learning platform, which is the term that we're using, or a virtual learning platform,
right.
that can help kind of alleviate some of that.
I love that. I know that because I'm sorry, for our family, the previous 2 years before this school year, we did homeschool and augmented, through Florida virtual school, and augmented. There's so many other opportunities when you are doing homeschool. We are going out, and you can go on field trips, and you can and you can tailor specifically for your kids. And this is quarantine schooling.
You got another wonderful term. So it's the lessons are being provided by the teachers. We all content areas. Speaking, I work at an elementary school, so we have lessons up there for all content areas. Art has lessons up there, music has lessons up there. So virtually the same thing a student would be getting if they were going to school is now on that virtual learning platform. So I think starting with that foundation can really help the adults now recognize that, I don't have to go out and now find all this stuff to teach my student or teach my son or daughter these standards. It's going to be there for you. We also have, my school sites in particular has packets that we're giving out. So for students that may be in a challenge with the technology, may not have access, they can still come to the school and receive a packet. We're definitely socially distancing. We put them out there, have gloves on and things like that. But there's all these options and avenues so that students can still have access to learning. So I would start with that. I would start with kind of beginning with that perspective and that mind shift so that we're not thinking that we have to add too much to it. I would then say there are a couple of things that I'll get into maybe a little bit later, but the first thing that I want to talk about is the communication, making sure that the student and the family it's maintaining that contact with the site and with the teachers. A lot of the directives that came out during the last week of success, there was a lot of information that went to all departments and all individuals that have a role, and maintaining that contact with your teacher is essential and critical. A lot of teachers haven't created Google Voice numbers. A lot of teachers already text parents. So that's kind of the world we live in. But having that access to email your teacher, text, call, anything of that nature, so that you're getting that information from that teacher. Because again, it's not the homeschooling, it's that virtual e-learning platform. So maintaining that two-way communication, if you do find that you as a parent are getting frustrated or your son or daughter is getting frustrated with the work. Another thing that can help ease that is we do not have an expectation that there's a student sitting in front of a computer from, 7 to 3. That is something that we can work out as well. They can develop a schedule. That's what I want to talk about a little bit later. Developing a schedule of how they attack their content and their learning. But really recognizing that we have access to these e-learning platforms in Hillsborough through Edsby, through Clever, and your son or daughter can access those things at a time that's convenient for everyone. So starting starting there with establishing that thought process, because I'm really into the SEL, how you're feeling about things and your self-management and your self-awareness and all of those types of critical skills. So really starting from that point before you then look to add on some of the things that can mimic what the student is experiencing in the school building.
Totally. That sounds great. So, I'm really big on, kind of giving people action items. So, let's say, you are having difficulty with technology, whether it's, because of, internet connection, obviously, at the very beginning of all of this, Edsby was very difficult because, and because everybody's trying to get on Edsby at once. Should they contact the front office? Should they contact their specifically their teacher? Like, who should they contact about getting packet learning or whatever it is that they need to do?
Well, if you're having some difficulties with the e-learning platform in Hillsborough County, we have a hotline. We have a couple of hotlines actually. We have a mental health hotline. We have a general questions hotline, and we have an e-learning hotline. So
Oh, wow.
if there are any questions about those aspects of what's going on, please feel free to reach out to those. They're operated Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to I believe 5, or maybe 8 to 4, 8 to 5. And they are taking calls or just to support our families. So if you have the technology at home and you're a Hillsborough County student and you're having that difficulty with maybe your EDSB is not functional or you can't access some of the things, do not hesitate to reach out to those hotlines and get that information direct from those folks. If you're having some more of those personal social concerns, reach the mental health hotline. We have district clinicians and other people in mental health that are ready to support and serve as well. So I would start there with addressing the e-learning concerns.
So the actual technical aspects.
Yes.
I gotcha.
If you're having instructional concerns, like let's say you're going on and you don't understand the lesson that's posted, or you're working in the packet and you have questions about that, just like you would ask your teacher to clarify those things in the classroom, reach out to that teacher as well. A lot of parents have been sending in pictures. They're taking pictures of the assignment on their cell phones, texting the teacher's getting back. A lot of teachers are now making videos to help explain content. That we're using a lot of platforms. We're definitely using Zoom.
Yeah.
Some teachers are using Flipgrid and Nearpod and just posting all these things to their sites. A lot. We're using EDSB a lot in Hillsborough County, but really the teachers are available and they want to be. And I think that when the students know that and families know that, it goes a long way in helping. That we want to be available to you. We want you to reach out and pose those questions to us. So if there's an instructional question, like you don't understand the content or that, then definitely reach out to that classroom teacher. If it's something where we are seeing that frustration, we are feeling a little uncomfortable is the word that I use with my students, because there's no such thing as a bad emotion. We have comfortable emotions and sometimes we get the uncomfortable emotions. Definitely reach out to the school counseling team, the student services team at the site. We're available as well. You can reach us on email. We have Google numbers as well. We're here to help and support in that way. But if you can't reach us, if you cannot get in touch with somebody at the school site, and it's a non-emergency, like you need to take a breather, recognize that it is okay to step away and do some things that bring you some joy and bring your son or daughter some joy. One of the things that I like to tell students is when they get frustrated or they get flustered, taking that break, and if they can, whatever their favorite interest is. I have some students that are art, they need to have artwork in the museums all around the world. So I tell them, like, take a pause, take a break, go enjoy your art. Don't think about anything for about 5 or 10 minutes. Enjoy that thing that you really love doing. I have students that are very musically inclined. They can sing anything. Take a step away and then enjoy you in that moment, being and singing, being very mindful of that time you're taking. Recognizing that if I just need to breathe for a moment, the way in which we can help with breathing. One phrase that we say is to help regulate your breathing as you're breathing in and then breathing out. When you breathe in, you want to smell the roses. And then as you breathe out, you want to blow out the birthday candles on the cake, or you want to blow out the candles. So helping to regulate your breathing and just recognizing, this, I can get through this. I'm big on positive self-talk. If your son or daughter, or even the parent is having a moment, just stepping away and saying internally or out loud, if you're in your house, which we're all are right now, I got this. That's a phrase that I like to take from my mom and just, share that with families and students, just recognizing that I got this. And it can be a moment where I'm not even looking at the work or what's frustrating me, but reminding myself that, hey, I got this, and then coming back to it with that renewed and refreshed sense of thought and of being.
You actually, when I was teaching again over Zoom, I was teaching our adult martial arts program, and all the adults in that program are usually parents. And one of the things that I was talking to them, because again, like, you'll like this because you're big on social emotional learning.
Yes.
Is I was talking to them and like, look, all your kids are scared, you're scared, but like right now, your you're teaching the hard drive that your kids are going to use in the future when they encounter. Because I mean, we know that, you know, when we were younger, much younger, you know, there were things that happened, you know, and this is the tape that they're going to play, how they're going to handle it in the future. And so like, it's good to articulate, hey, I'm feeling feelings of anxiety and talking it out. This is how I'm going to deal with it healthily, rather than not talk about it, you know, bottle it up and then it become a challenge later. You know what I mean?
I fully agree with that. I think that being all the adults in any young person's life model 24/7. So if you're encountering, and then you're an adult and you're encountering that uncomfortable emotion, recognizing it, acknowledging it, and letting it kind of, you know, pass over. Another thing to help with that, especially with adults, young people too, but with the adults in the learning environment, is not to judge it. Like, don't add a judgment on, you know, I'm feeling frustrated or I'm feeling overwhelmed. So if I am feeling that
way,
well, yes, it is. And there is someone maybe next door, down the street, or in another community feeling the exact same way. So if I'm able to recognize that right now, whatever the situation is, I'm feeling a sense of overwhelm, or I'm overwhelmed by this entire process, then taking that step back and just recognizing, okay, I see it, I'm gonna call it what it is, and then I'm going to let it pass. And then once I let it pass, whether I did some breathing, whether I took a walk, whether I did whatever I do for my own self-care, I can share my own. I can't do it now, so I'm finding other ways. I love driving. Like, my best way for me to debrief is to just drive. I grab a Starbucks coffee and just drive around. Just
cruise back roads, or you like to hit the interstate?
I like the down roads, the scenic route, so to say.
I personally like the stretch that goes up, you know, up 301, you know, north of McIntosh.
Okay, you can find me on Bayshore, going down all the way down to the park and then coming back around.
Nice.
But so doing whatever you do, just to recognize and then to let it pass, but really not to judge it, not to beat yourself up about it, and then not to, you know, put too much energy into it, because it will pass. And then as we model that as adults, then our children, our sons, our daughters, our students, they'll be able to see how the adults in their lives now at home are modeling those tools as well.
Yeah.
Something something really cute, because I'm an elementary counselor, that we do at our school. We have a very wonderful partnership with a nonprofit called Frameworks of Tampa Bay, and our younger students do turtle. So if they are feeling like they need a moment, then they just kind of wrap their arms around and then kind of go in as a turtle, and then we know that's the symbol and the sign that they might need a moment as well. Yeah. So anything,
it's better than the overwhelm of like hiding under a table, you know.
Right. But definitely recognizing it and not judging it is what I would hope to share with families, students, and adults.
That's fantastic, and I obviously I wholeheartedly agree with you. Mm-hmm. You know, that's always been, you know, one of the things that we tell parents as instructors, because, like, you know, a lot of times they come and they're like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? Right. Is not just when you're modeling it, model it, but also articulate it, and that's yes. the biggest. That's the biggest thing, because, you know, they don't always, they see you go for a run, but they just, sometimes when they're younger, they just think that you're just going for a run, or
exactly,
you know, and it's really interesting. So let me ask you this question.
Sure.
Should those, I mean, let's call them, for, you know, for instance, brain break, you know what I mean? You know, mm-hmm. when you start to feel that frustration, is it beneficial to kind of pre-program that into the day versus waiting until you are almost on your last nerve, you know? Will it help avoid problems if you know, can you preempt the frustration?
Okay, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes, because as I think about a typical day, like a typical day at my site, so to say, we have all of our content areas. So you definitely have, you know, your reading, your writing, which is now called ELA. You have right. math, science, social studies, which is embedded. You have, you know, PE, art, or music. And so there's a really full schedule for students in kindergarten through grade 5. So we embed brain breaks in our day as well. And it can be something as simple as taking like a 10-minute stretch break. It can be a breathing activity. It can be the just dancing, which we do to kind of just get everybody up and moving kinesthetically.
Right.
So I would say, yes. One of the things that I think to be a tangible is for families to definitely create that schedule. If you find yourself as a parent and you are either working at home now as well, or even if you have to, travel out to your job, really creating that schedule, whether your student is in elementary or middle or high school, because that schedule goes to a routine. And when we have schedules and routines, then we oftentimes feel safer. And that's really important for the student to continue to thrive in this learning environment. We want them to have that sense of safety so that they know that I can keep doing what I need to do as a learner. So if you're looking at developing the schedule for elementary students in particular, I would just say make sure that you're giving enough time to the content areas. Again, you don't necessarily have to have them there for, an hour of math, an hour of science. It doesn't need to be at the table the entire time. You can have flexibility based on your knowledge of your learner, but definitely giving them time throughout the day to experience those content areas. One thing that you can also work to build in, and we do this at our school site, and several schools are using this model now, the idea of the morning meeting, or the idea of something to where when I wake up as a learner, I don't just dive in to my instruction or my content. Morning meetings at home can look very, very different. They can take on so many different shapes. It can be breakfast at the table where everyone's talking about what's going on at the day. It can be something where, as a family, we're coming together and really just celebrating some successes or getting things off the ground. One of the things that we do as part of our community building is we greet each other. So something as simple as just saying hello with someone's name when they get up and they get ready to start their day really puts that smile on that face. We continue with giving news or giving reports of what's going on in the learning environment. So as a family, having that family morning meeting, what's happening today? I know that the student can share they have a test on EDSB. The parent can say, they have an assignment they have to do for their job or a report they have to finish. And that gets embedded into the schedule as well.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you.
No. Well, it's really funny because two kind of like points that we do like every day with our after school program and every day with our summer camps, we have what we call culture building and agenda and, and announcements. And it's almost like this is what's going to happen today. This is what we're going to be doing. And it's also kind of almost like a mini pep rally. And so that's one. And then in all of our staff meetings for here at Sidekicks, we always at the very beginning, after I say hello, we do what we call gratitude reps. And so we talk about what are the wins, what are we grateful for, who helped us, what student really impressed us this week, and it's really funny because I'm kicking myself because I never occurred to me to do that with my own kids at our house.
Listen, like it is so critical. It is like the thing about it is it used to be called like those soft skills. This is all in this whole SEL umbrella. It used to be called those soft skills, those things that, people just thought were thing you just kind of pick up or get some training on later on. But to see the impact of what that does for a learner and for a young student, any student, but for the young student, being able to come in and say, this is what's on my plate today. And then someone hear that, validate that, and then not add anything to that, but say, if now that I know this, I can now interact with you in a way that's going to suit you, is so like almost mind changing when you look at it in the context of how that affects academic performance.
Right.
So now that we're here dealing with this situation we're dealing with, where families are now together, seeing that grow as a family unit is even much more impactful. And thinking about bridging that into the home, it's wonderful. I salute it. I having the school counselor role, seeing the research on it, seeing what the scholars are saying about social emotional learning and doing those things like that. It's enlightening, and it's almost like refreshing now that I get to hear those moments with families at home doing the same thing.
Oh, that's great. I bet that's probably one when, it's one of those things that goes into this little emotional piggy bank that you carry around with you of little successes, so that on the days, I mean, obviously there's going to be days when you in your professional, me as a professional, as a parent, there's going to be lows, I mean, I think a lot of people are experiencing kind of some lows right now because they're unsure and they're personally scared. I think that to create that almost like a war chest of good experiences that you can call on and say, you know what, I made a difference here. I made a difference here. This, you know, and I think that's probably another thing right there. Like, what was the one win that you guys got today?
I was about to say, like, I don't know if you know even the word that you're describing, but one of the things that we like to call in our work is a sunshine file.
Right.
And it is like, it can be a cabinet drawer, it can be a file folder, and as educators we put in all those notes that students give us, all of those notes that parents send us, all those little things that help us keep moving. So as a family, you can create one of those as well. You were just describing a wonderful tool to use so that on those days where someone is feeling a little lower, reach to the sunshine file, reach to the family cheer chest, and then pull those things out and share them either independently or with each other. That's amazing.
We when we're talking to other school owners, we call it our stack of awesome. And for my wife and I, it's actually digital. It's digital. Our stack of awesome. So because like the way she and I can both contribute to it. And, and we're all over the place a lot of times, and so we can go in there and scroll and look and see how awesome this we felt like. And so you're right. Like, hey, I made a difference to this person. It's almost like the starfish story, like, where the guy starfish into the ocean. Yeah. The guy's like, why are you doing it? It's not going to be all. Well, it made a difference to that starfish.
It made a difference. That's so true. That's so true. And things like that, that can be a part of what you're doing in this new platform, taking the time to embed those things. Like when you pose your first question about building in those brain breaks, build in those types of moments, build in that stuff so that you as a family can keep growing, and that your student, whether they're in elementary where I tend to work, or middle and high, can have that moment as well, so they can celebrate and be cheered on.
Yeah, I think that in at least as in talking to parents, because again we've talked to a lot of parents. I'm doing daily Zoom check-ins with our members, and the biggest struggle I think a lot of them are having is a lot of them are working from home, and they're trying to work from home and be the parent helper. I know that they're not the educator, but they're trying to be the parent helper at the same time. And it's just kind of like, I saw like a meme, and it was like from 9:05 to 9:10, you're working, and then you're explaining how to do the math, to your kid, explaining the instructions. And then from 9:13 to, and by the time it's like 10 o'clock at night, like how, what advice, like, I know we talked about the schedule, but how are we developing those routines for parents and, to help their kids and still get all the other stuff done? Because I mean, I get that the teacher is teaching and they're in the driver's seat of the education portion, but in a lot of ways, the parent is the one who has to be the extrinsic motivator, because I mean, kids are kids. A 5-year-old is a 5-year-old. They're not going to necessarily sit down and just, okay, I'm going to do all my schoolwork now. So like, what tips would you tell them to help them to be able to balance both, to be able to help their kids stay motivated, during e-learning?
I first want to say that I think that the routine is essential. Like whatever is going to work in each family's household, once that is established and that can grow into a consistent pattern, is going to be beneficial for everybody in the long run.
I got you.
I think that if I'm talking to a parent who now finds himself working at home, or they've been working at home and now they have a learner at home, I would tell them to establish a routine where they're able to devote time to their learner, and then be maybe like reviewing the day, reviewing the packet, reviewing what's on ESB for that day, and then coming back to the schedule. So if they create that schedule of the workstation for the day, then giving that maybe hour or so, or maybe if it has to be shorter, to really review the day with the student. Because once they review the day with the student, they can send the student off, speaking particularly of elementary students, because middle school and high school students can be a bit more self-directed. But once they take the time to review what is going on that day, then sending the learner off to accomplish those tasks. to help with that, giving them like a space. One of the things that we talk about with young learners is their study area, because the study area then grows into the study habits as they become middle and high school students. So where is that learner's area to work? Is it going to be the desk in their room? Is it going to be at the dining room table? Is it going to be somewhere where they're in the viewpoint of the parent who's also working? But wherever that place is, allow that student, that learner, to do their work at that place on a consistent basis. So to kind of look at it, how it's kind of in my mind, we get our schedule for the day. We know we're going to do maybe reading first, then math, and have lunch and do everything in the afternoon. So before I begin my day, if I can, as the adult doing my job, I'm going to go over what the expectation is for my learner and address any questions. I may have to write them down. I may have to say, we're going to come back to this when I take a break or when we can get in touch with the teacher. I'm going to go over what they have to do and then say, are there any questions? Do you have anything you need to review with me? If they give thumbs up, green light, go, then I'm going to send them to accomplish that small chunk. And then I'm going to be able to do some work myself. I'm going to give myself some time and space to do what I need to do. Once they've accomplished those little chunks and everything, then in that schedule, maybe I've built in that brain break that could be self-directed. Maybe I've built in something for them to do independently, whereas it may not be a lesson, but if they're doing the e-learning, they can go on to Mayon and read a book and do a project there. They can access, in Hillsborough County, we have iReady. They might have access to iReady. They can do some self-directed things there. The beauty part is that several of our students are already familiar with these platforms.
Yeah.
So they already know that what to do when they go onto Mayon, when they access their iReady, when they're even going on Edsby. Some have been using Edsby already. So when they are then tasked with going out and doing that work, then they're out there being that independent learner that we want them to grow into be. I think that when you have an older student, they're already in that self-directed kind of mindset and routine, but still giving them an opportunity to check in, still checking in with them and saying, what's on your schedule today? What tasks are you going to accomplish there? Are you going to do, if you have, let's say you have the 8-period day, are you working on period 1, 2, 3, and 4 today? And then, let me know how that goes when you're done. Are you going to skip around and do periods 1, 3, 5, and 7, or how are you structuring your day for your schedule? Just letting them know. That's kind of what I would say to help with that. Making sure that routine is there, and then whatever gets going for you is working for the adult and the student. Keep that process going. If you're a parent and you have to be out of the home working, so you're not present, you still have to go to your job. One thing that I would suggest is that if you have whoever the caregiver is for your son or daughter, that they are well versed and aware of what that routine that you've already established with your son or daughter is. Meeting with them privately, or meeting with them before they have to come in and take over for you in your absence while you're working, so that they can still monitor, not so much be responsible, but monitoring that plan you've created with your learner.
I wouldn't, because I know several, I have several parents that are also they are working out of the home because they are essential workers. They're in the medical field, or they're first responders. And I think that one thing that might be critical is because you get this list of things that your child has to do throughout the week, but you got to be out of the home because people need help. You know what I mean? Yeah. It can snowball in frustration. I think that the first step is to talk to the teacher about flexibility. I think and at least that has helped a lot of parents, that I talked to, because he's explaining, look, this is what we're doing. I am a medical professional, or I am a deputy with the sheriff's department, or something of a critical nature, and I'm simply not going to be able to do XYZ on this at the schedule that you want things. You know what I mean? And then and so far, because everybody does understand, teachers have been flexible. So I think that not trying to, it goes right back to the communication thing that you talked about at the beginning, not trying to just get it done and be frustrated because this is what the teacher assigned. And us who are older, we remember, the days when it was a little bit more rigid because we didn't understand all the learning styles. And it's nothing, it's not a slam on teachers at all by any stretch. It's just that, education today, at least from my perspective, has become more accommodating to people who are neurodiverse, who are, to be, inclusive of different learning styles.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I feel like a lot more, teachers are willing to be flexible. We just have to tell them, hey, we need help.
Yeah, I underscore that, and I echo that. I think that when you look at, like, going back to communication, being okay with having that conversation with your child's teacher goes a long way. I think, because it's not that anyone wants to bombard learners with work. It's not that anyone is wanting to, I don't think, be so as rigid with it. I think that I feel at least from the educators that I know and that I communicate with, flexibility, being responsive to the needs of the student and the family is really being examined. It's examined throughout the regular year as well. So I don't want to say that because now we're in this unique situation that there's this, like, magnifying glass on that.
But in general, most of it's a little bit easier to develop that flexibility because you have the time in person, already. Like, that's your child is going to attend school. It's easier to make things happen during that time because the child is right there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, but I think, because we've done that, we've had that kind of that model from the year. So, like, parents and teachers have been communicating. So now, because everyone's experiencing something new and unique, just reaching out and sharing what's going on with the teacher is going to be received very well. But even as I say that, I'm saying it's received well anyway. So
right.
Like,
Right.
So much that now, because now I'm going to get all these calls. No, we want that. We want to know so that we can differentiate for who's in front of us and who we're dealing with. But I do want to go back just for a minute on the schedule piece. Like, if there is that frustration, the schedule is more designed for that family unit. So, for example, if you know that as the adult and you're working or whatever your schedule is, that you can't devote uninterrupted minutes to the day, it's okay. Look at where you can give that time to your son or daughter to assist them with the learning, and then again, get them into that routine where they can work on it independently. But the whole scheduling aspect is what's going to be what's best for that learner and that family unit.
Right.
A simple little thing is posting it. It's real simple in thought, but whatever we come up with as a family of when we're going to do work, when we're going to engage in the different aspects of the day, put that somewhere so that everyone knows this is the time we're devoting to that. I'm not saying be so stringent and rigid that 8 to 5, 8 to 9, we must be doing this, but posting it so that there is some type of structure to the day, which goes into helping with the routine, which provides the safety. So kind of bridging those pieces together. But to go back to what you said, please reach out and share. Because again, the expectation is we know it's different. And we know that families are dealing with different things and have different needs. And so our direction is from that.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it's all been amazing information so far. So I have kind of maybe they're kind of paired together questions.
Okay.
Because we do have students and many of the people who are watching on the replay or on it live. How can we help students with special needs? You know what I mean? How can we help them adjust and to the change and feel secure, in the world that's maybe different than they're used to? I mean, I know that students that with how are parents supposed to still navigate their child's IEP in 504 when like maybe many of the accommodations have to be reinterpreted for the new space that they're in. What are the conversations that you guys are? I mean, obviously you can't tell me specifics, but what are the conversations that you guys are having, or how are you guys? How are our teachers and administrations helping with those kinds of things?
I can tell you that from the perspective of the school counselor, of my role in being the 504 chair at my school, that it is on the forefront. It is not anything that's being forgotten or pushed away. We're still providing those accommodations, even though it might appear different. But those accommodations are still given and needed by the student. To navigate that, what first was communication. I would say communicate with the case manager for the ESE documentation, and communicate with the teachers on what those accommodations are, and then working out with the entire, I call it the success team. So working out with everyone on that success team to figure out how your son or daughter can still receive the accommodations they were getting in the school building. There have been just some changes in terms of moving forward. But if you were receiving accommodations, then we're looking at how do we extend those to you now in this virtual platform. So as a parent, if I was a parent with a student with a 504 in particular, that's what I can talk to more so than the IEP, because I'm responsible for our 504. Communicating with the teacher, looking at the work, and then looking at the accommodations your son or daughter were receiving, and then coming up with a plan, including the counselor, including student services, including the teacher, and saying, okay, well, if this is due this week, for example, I have, just to give an example, I have to read 2 chapters and do this graphic organizer, and this is all due by Friday. Let's say if that's the case. Then if my accommodation was to get modified time or additional time to complete that, then I'm looking at, okay, if this was given to the students in my general class, then what can I do to break this up for this student who might need more time?
Right.
Am I saying I want to, am I going to have a conversation with that student and parent and say, this is the timetable for the regular students. This is what we're going to work on for your son or daughter. Having that conversation with them, not being afraid. I'm underscoring that point again. Not being afraid to reach out and say, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, my son or my daughter has this document for this disability or whatnot, and we want to figure out how to modify this, and then working together, collaborating with the professionals on that success team.
So it's entirely reasonable that if you're like my one of my kids has a 504, and if if we feel like, hey, there needs to be modifications, you can have a meeting and maybe relook at those accommodations to how to adjust for the e-learning experience. Is that correct to say? Or
Yeah. So if a student, your student currently has a 504 and they have the accommodations within it, and you can look at what the accommodations currently are, then yes, we can work to make those fit within the e-learning platform. If you as the parent or have some concerns, you always can make a request to review that document and kind of see what's going on and how it can look different. We do have just some different ways about working with that. And from our district standpoint, we're getting information almost weekly about what to do in those situations. But we still are holding to the accommodations that are in those documents.
Right. Well,
so,
I was fortunate that you are the 504 chair at your school. I mean, that was, I only lucked into that question.
No. Just in terms of because kind of a phrase that I kind of use in my own process about how to look at the work that we're doing. And I don't want to misquote it, but it might have come from something I read from our state education secretary, that the school site is closed, but learning is not. So right. I kind of think about that and look at, okay, so my site, I can't go to my site. I can't report to my building and my office and things like that. But the learning process and those things that are involved in that for students and families has not shut down. So it will look different. I don't want to paint a picture that it will be the same as it was when we were in school. The process will look different. Maybe the way about we're holding meetings or the things that we're able to do, that will look different. But I don't want any family who has a student with a unique need, whether it's being addressed through an IEP or a 504, to feel as though that those accommodations and things of that nature are not being considered. So to facilitate that, as the parent and as the best advocate for the learner.
Always.
Be sure to connect. Be sure to connect and ask that question. Whether it's to the teacher, even if you get to the teacher can relay that information to all of us on the success team, and then we can research and then we can kind of, go in and figure out how we can make it work. But I definitely will say that to those parents who may have that concern. Don't be afraid to ask the question. Email it, call, text it, share that concern you have, and then see what's going on.
Yeah, awesome. So I don't want to take all of your day up, but
okay.
Do you have do you have any more any more action items that you think that you wanted really to cover that you think would be useful to parents in embarking on this e-learning experience?
I would want to say that because we're all in this, we're all in it together. Exactly. We're all kind of navigating it together and figuring some things out. I would say to the parents or to those adults that are involved in this learning process don't tax yourself, don't overstress yourself, don't overburden yourself. Reach out, communicate. That's the biggest essential that I think I could share. Reaching out to the school, whether it's the principal, the teacher, the school counselor, anyone that you have a positive relationship with at that site to get information and to have your questions addressed and answered. And then to try to embed as much. I don't want to say fun. That's not the right word I want to use, but to embed some things where you and your son or daughter are going to grow from this, whether it's those social emotional things, whether it's those interest-based things, whether it's something that you all can look forward to doing now that we're in our homes and whatnot. And
like martial art classes, just saying.
Martial arts classes, they're really good over there.
Too.
But anything you can embed. And the last kind of thing is that this kind of goes with the routine piece at schools and just whatnot, like finding things to celebrate, like whether, celebrating your learner, celebrating you. I give a lot of credit and credence to my mother, who was a teacher, as you mentioned. So thank you so much. That was a beautiful introduction. I appreciate that. Thank you. But one of the things that she did for me that I tell parents is refrigerator work. So if there is something that your son or daughter is earning, they completed something, make a little Post-it, make a little certificate, write on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be glamorous or grand, and post that up there. Post your refrigerator work. If you complete that assignment and you got that email from your boss saying, good job, way to go, or you came in after you did your work and that you had a really good celebration, post those things so that the family can celebrate and grow together while we navigate this new process.
Man, that's another gold nugget, because a lot of times families will it's artwork that goes on the refrigerator, but like a Post-it of something of a win.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I mean, that's such a great idea. And then it's just like if you posted something on your bathroom mirror, every time you go to the refrigerator, you see that.
Exactly.
That's like the sunshine book that you were talking about. File. That's really great stuff. Listen, Rennex, Mr. Franklin, thank you so much for taking your time. I personally appreciate the favor of coming on and speaking to our members as well as the Bloomingdale community and area at large. I'm going to make sure that this, I share this with as many people as I can, because there's, let's just look, I wrote on, this is the paper that I used for a thing. I mean, those are the notes that I took from our, from our conversation. I mean, I really personally, for me, really just an eye opener was applying that same concept of a morning meeting, which is what we do with our staff. Like we already, me and my wife, we already do this with our team. We already do this with our members, but applying the same thing, honestly, with each other. Like I think that even just help our relationship in general, but with our children as well. I think that's wonderful. And then I really love the refrigerator work thing. We always have been really good on schedules, and I feel like this is going to help a lot of people. So I really appreciate you spending time. Listen, if people want to follow you because you're such an awesome human being, how do I follow you on Twitter?
My Twitter handle is at Mr. Franklin 400.
Franklin 400. And is that the Is that the same in Instagram or just? I think it's at Mr. Franklin is probably on Twitter. Is probably the best, right?
At Mr. Franklin, yeah. At Mr. Franklin 400. That'll be the one. And on that one, I like retweet and follow a lot of SEL folks and a lot of things just to kind of help out. So
Awesome.
yeah, I thank you so much for providing this opportunity. I'm always happy to be of any service and support that I can to anyone in terms of education, because I definitely do value it. So it was an honor and a thrill, my friend, to sit here with you and engage in this conversation.
You know what? I think just as a personal aside, because I mean, again, I appreciate it, but like, you and I went to high school together.
Yes.
I mean, now we weren't like tight, but we were friendly, but really to see you and some of the other people that just the awesome things that you guys do, the community building that you guys are doing, I really love it, because like when we thought, hey, we're going to change the world, like we're out there, I feel like we're out there trying, we're doing it, we're working on it.
Right.
And I think it's just,
No, and I think that, and what happens is like, over time, as we get a little mature, we get a little older.
We're talking about the gray.
About the grays. But no, like I think because of that, the program we were both in, International Baccalaureate, it did set up people to really establish a connection, whether, you may not have been, in the same kind of group, but then as we gotten older, you see what people are out here doing. And then if it works and you can still find that connection and just, be a supporting person and really just like, clapping for somebody and they're winning and coming together and sharing that expertise. I'm personally and I shared this with you maybe about a year ago, just in awe of your entrepreneurship and just what you do for the students that you serve. And so I think that is that is one of the things that motivates me to see someone who works with kids and then embeds a lot of things that I find valuable through the work that you do. And just to be able to say, I know him is really cool and really critical. So I'm glad that time has allowed for us to kind of navigate our professional worlds and figure out what we want to do out here to make a difference and be agents of change, and then come back together to support more people.
And you know what? And truthfully, as we mature, we align more together, in common goals and stuff. And so it was immediately, you were the first person that I thought about talking. Hey, I want to, because we've been sharing tips from our own homeschool experience. My wife has done such an incredible job because she
did. Yes. Yes.
And, sorry, that was her radio. And I just wanted to, also add from the professional educator side. And you were the first person that I thought of because of all the work that you've been doing. So again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Just stay on the line real quick while I kind of wrap up, and then we'll chat for a second. And then, right?
Sure.
So, folks, thank you guys so much for joining us today. This has been a really great, like I said, these are the notes that I took personally from, the nuggets that the gold that Mr. Franklin, that Rennex Franklin, provided for us today. If for any, if you have any questions or anything like that, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. This is the Sidekicks website. You can always just contact us through there. Mr. Franklin can be reached through Twitter at Mr. Franklin 400 on Twitter. And you know what? We'll do more of these as we, leverage our network to help make your life better. And you guys take care, and we'll see you soon. Have a powerful day, guys. Actually, don't have a powerful day. Make it a powerful day, and we'll see you guys soon.